Good morning everybody in YouTube land, and welcome back to another episode right here on The More You Grow. Today we're going to be pursuing one of my crazy ideas. I think that with the proper techniques, I will be able to grow sugarcane, a tropical grass, here in North Texas on my farm where it regularly gets below 32 degrees during the winter. So you may be thinking I'm absolutely out of my mind, that there's no way sugarcane will be able to survive through the winter here in North Texas, but hear me out. I have an idea and I have a few techniques that might allow this to work. So I'll tell you all about that in this video, and today we're going to be propagating out the sugarcane, getting it ready for the spring to where we can go plant it out at the farm. I'll show you everything I'm going to do along the way and tell you about this crazy idea some more. So let's go check it out. Alright, so what's my crazy plan to get sugarcane to grow in far north Texas year after year? We're only like 30 minutes from the Oklahoma border, so let me just tell you, it gets cold here, so we're gonna see how this works. When I was at College Station, we grew sugarcane down there at the Howdy Farm. Y'all have seen that in previous videos. If you haven't, I'll leave a few down in the description and maybe one or two up here in the iCards. What I did while I was there is when the sugarcane would be grown, ready to harvest, I would harvest it before the frost would come in. And what I'd do after that is just cut it to the ground and cover it with wood chip mulch, and pretty thick too. What that does is it insulated it. It insulated it from the hard frost we would get down there. The times it'd get really cold. Doesn't get as cold down there as it does here, but it still gets plenty of cold to kill sugarcane. And after we mulched it last year, this spring, it came up. It came up just fine, was rocking, it was doing great, like no issues whatsoever. So if it survived that, I wanted to test that and see how far north this will survive if I insulate the roots during the winter time. So the way we're going to do this is I've got some sugarcane cuttings here. I've taken cuttings on videos in the past and shown y'all how to do that. I'll talk a little bit more about that in this video, and I'll show you these sugarcane cuttings as I get them all planted up, show you how to get them potted up and everything. And then once these grow out and grow bigger, we're going to take these in the spring, plant them out at the farm, and let them grow through the year. And when winter time comes along, we will try this technique to see if it works. If it doesn't work, that's okay. This sugarcane didn't cost us anything. These are just cuttings from the plants we already had. So it's not like this is going to make or break my bank account or anything. It's just a good, fun project that if it works, then that's great. We just found out we can grow sugarcane in North Texas. If it doesn't, we learned something. That's the fun in farming, is we always learn something no matter the outcome. So let's get these sugarcane potted up, and I'll show you all how I do that along the way. Alrighty guys, if we're gonna test this theory, the first thing that we have to do is we have to start some sugarcane plants. And I've started sugarcane from cuttings in previous videos. I'll leave a link to one of those videos up above. But essentially what I do is I will take my sugarcane stalks and cut them into more manageable sections. You have to make sure there's at least one node per section or it won't grow at all. I usually like to give it 2 nodes per section, because that way if one node dies, it has another one to back it up. And then what we'll do is we have to get our sugarcane rooted. You can either do that by placing it in moist potting mix or perlite, or you can get it started by just placing it in a shallow container of water. The advantage of starting it in a shallow container of water is that it's way less expensive. Potting mix is expensive if you have to buy a lot of it, and you may have to use multiple bags to get this started, and you may not know how many of those cuttings are even going to take. And so if you have a tub of shallow water, the only thing it's going to cost you is the cost of the tub, and you may already have a tub laying around where you don't have to go buy another one, and the water, which is pennies, if that. And once you get these put in here, you just let them root out, and that's where you'll go plant them up. Before I get started planting them, I actually have 2 different kinds of sugarcane in here. We have this variety of sugarcane, which I don't know what variety it is, but this is the sugarcane that we're growing at Howdy Farm. The reason why I'm excited about this variety is that it claims that it can grow in temperatures down to 11 degrees. So that's really going to help us along with this project by having a cold tolerant variety of sugarcane and by using techniques like mulching to keep it from freezing in the wintertime. The other variety of sugarcane that I have is a green variety. I actually got this from a specialty grocery store, and so I'm going to see how this variety will handle this North Texas climate if we use these techniques. Hopefully it will do well as well. So now that we have our cuttings all ready to go and they're all rooted out really nicely, we need to get them potted up. And all I do here is I get a container of some kind and just some general purpose potting mix. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Sugarcane isn't all that picky, but what we need to do is we need to wet it down really well, because a lot of this potting mix comes in really dry, and you want to make sure this soil is moist all the way through. You don't want to have a dry pocket down here at the bottom where it dries out your roots. So once you get this all moistened down, I've already pre-wetted this a few times to where it's nice and soaked all the way through. You'll take your sugarcane cuttings and you want to just cover the roots the best that you can, but you don't want to bury the sugarcane up the stalk very high. You want to make sure to cover the original stalk that you started and cover the roots, but you don't want to bury the stem of your new sugarcane. So I'm just going to go along in here and cover this in. I'll probably need a little bit more potting mix to do this. And I'll also be able to start multiple cuttings in this container, and that makes it to where you have to use less containers, use a little less potting mix, and they'll grow just fine. If you need to later on, you can separate them out. So I'm just going to go along through here, get these potted up, and I'll show you what it looks like as I get done. Well guys, I got most of this batch all potted up. I have a few more left that I couldn't get to because I ran out of potting soil, but that's okay. I'll get those in the next few days when I go buy some more. I gotta tell you, I've got about 15 more containers just like this in the garage. So we have a ton of sugarcane plants to get us started. Most of these have one sugarcane cutting per container. That's the best thing to do because it'll give it the most space to root out, get a really good root system established before we go plant them. But that's not always possible. If you run out of containers or you're limited on space, it is okay to put 2 per container. Just be sure to get a big enough container that it gives them enough space to establish a good root system. So all we're gonna do now is we're gonna let these grow out. I might bring them out onto the porch once it warms up a little bit to grow a little bit bigger. But once we can, we're going to get them out to the farm, plant them in the ground as soon as possible after the last chance of frost. That way they can get a good root system established and grow as big as possible before winter comes along. I want to stress that it's important to plant them as early as you can after the danger of frost, because you really want to get a good root system established before they go into winter when we mulch them over and cover them up. So until then, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you have any more questions for me about how I plan to grow sugarcane in North Texas, leave it down in the comments and I'll get back to you. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Go check us out on Facebook and Instagram and hit that bell icon for notifications. And until next time, I hope you'll join me right here on The More You Grow.